All right. Hey, welcome. I am Matt Pomeroy, and I want to welcome you to the first ever WHPE webinar, and that's Wisconsin Health and Physical Education. I'm hanging out here tonight with Tim Mueller. Why don't you give a little wave, Tim?
Welcome, everybody.
And I'm hanging out with True Vang.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah. So this webinar right now, we brought in myself and those two just to talk a little bit about classroom management. We're going to talk about classroom management in both health. I'm going to be discussing those topics, and PE, and Tim and True are going to be discussing those topics. So we are all WHPE board members, and we're really just out there looking to deliver professional development into your home, so you can, watch at home, watching your jammies, whatever it is that you need to do, and, get a little bit of learning done over break. So, thank you for joining us today. And just want to start with, we are using Tazzle as our webinar host. So I'm glancing to my left because I can see the Tazzle on the screen, and I can see some people are already chatting on the Tazzle. So the Tazzle is really just a back chat or a back channel. So you can have good discussions in the Tazzle while you're listening and while you're hearing, what we are discussing over here in this live webinar. So again, feel free to chat, talk, and take what we talk about and add your thoughts and discuss and learn from each other. It's a really cool kind of way to do it. You'll see the live YouTube link over there. So hopefully you've pressed play. And then down below it, you will actually see our presentation for this evening as well. So you can click through that. There's some links in there. There's some videos. There's some good resources just to kind of get us rolling on that. So thank you again for joining us. Just a reminder that we are using technology, and things do happen as of right now. Things look like they're going pretty well. But if for some reason the video feed stops, sometimes what you might need to do is just refresh your screen. Like that can help. But if the video feed completely stops and something happens on our end, check out the Tazzle, and we'll post a new video link there. May take us a few minutes to get it rolling again, but we'll get it going, and we're going to get this thing done. So, we just thank you for your patience if something like that happens. So I'm going to send it over to both True and Tim. We're going to do a couple quick introductions. We are going to start sharing our presentation as of right now, so you can see that presentation. So say goodbye to our faces and say hello to the learning.
All right, so I'm going to get our presentation ready and going here. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So welcome again, everybody, to classroom management is our topic. This is our, like Matt said, our first WHPE webinar. I hope you guys enjoy it. My name is True, and I'm from the Eau Claire Area School District. This is my 6th year teaching, and my biggest passion is just using best practices into my teaching, and that includes a lot of stuff like just understanding what's most contemporary and what the students' needs are, different management systems. So every year always looks different for me. I never teach the same lesson twice. It always looks a little bit different from year to year. With that, I'm going to send it over to Tim.
Thanks, True. I am a teacher at Aaron School. In fact, I'm sitting in our school library right now. It's pretty empty. And Aaron School is going to make the map this year. It's right next to Aaron Hills Golf Course, which is the site of the 2017 U.S. Open. So you'll hear a lot about that coming up. I've been teaching here for 25 years, involved in Fuel Up to Play 60. You'll hear a little bit about that coming up. Love to present at WHP and SHAPE conventions. And my biggest passion in physical education is, of course, fitness, but also team building. And through that, I think empowering students and developing mentor leaders is something that I think happens. And I'm excited to share some things about that. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over back to Matt.
All right. I am Matt Pomeroy. I teach 7th and 8th grade, both health and physical education at Merton Intermediate School. I've been teaching there for 13 years. I have a passion, especially for this topic on skills-based health, engaging and empowering my students and incorporating technology into my teaching and my students' learning experiences. I have health education class every other day, quarter 2 and quarter 3. I see all my 7th and 8th graders. There's about 222 of them. daily for both physical education and health. So it's kind of a pretty cool setup, and I love what I'm doing. And see them daily for PE for first quarter and fourth quarter, and then, like I said, every other day for second and third quarter. So really cool stuff.
All right, thanks, Matt. Looks like we are ready to go for our first topic here. But before that, just some informational things. If you guys are all looking for resources and when our next convention is, best practices, just our website is right here. This presentation will also be available to all users at the end, so you can access this. And this is actually a link, so you can actually just click on the link to get to the WHPE website. Just remembering our partners, American Heart Association, Jump Rope for Heart, Hoops for Heart. Make sure that you guys are supporting that. They are a big part of how we function here in Wisconsin. And just remember that for every $2,000 you raise, you do get a free 1-year membership to WHPE, which also is included along with that is I believe it's a $1 million insurance policy that we just recently adopted. So ask us if you guys have more questions about that.
And I will talk briefly about Field to Play 60. I've been doing it with my school this is my 4th year, and it has been amazing. So if your school does not do Field to Play 60, strongly recommend you looking into it. Not only for funding, it's awesome for that, but support for promoting healthy living. Some great resources, posters, different things to just really promote it within your school. Amazing prizes and incentives. My kids have been to Lambeau Field after winning a prize for Brain Break contest. They've accomplished some amazing things, and that leads to empowering student leaders. And that's what is going to help us reach our 50 million strong. That's what's going to help your students to become amazing citizens. So I strongly advocate for Play 60. Questions or want to find out more about it, you can contact me or the website. There's a link right there. So that's a picture of my team last year. They, again, were amazing. And this year, again, awesome to see how they can help promote fitness and wellness. So on to you, Matt.
All right, thanks you guys. We're just gonna go ahead and start. If you guys have any questions during each of our presentations, feel free to use the left-hand side of your screen to ask questions. Matt will moderate while I go here. So the order is gonna be myself, Tim, and then Matt. Our first topic is lesson planning for success. What I'm really looking for here is 4 things as the main driver for student learning here, and it's our in Eau Claire, it's our mission and vision, it's our standard-based curriculum, our unit learning objectives, and then learning focus, and then some techniques at the bottom. So I'll just dive into that really quick. So what really drives learning? It's really what your philosophy is as a department. That's really your mission and vision. And for us, it's about empowering kids empowering kids to make good decisions so that they can use physical play as a way to just really enjoy life. And we do that through that foundational movement of skills. So once again, we're a standard-based curriculum now. On the right-hand side is the SHAPE standard that you're probably familiar with. On the left-hand side is the kid-friendly one that I made up, and I kind of just highlighted all of the important words in each of the in each of the standards so that it's kid-friendly and they understand that everything that we do relates back to those standards. So from the standards, then we kind of build a matrix, a planning guide, and then a block plan. And this is kind of like a small segment of a block plan. This is, I believe this is kindergarten first grade band. You can see this is unit 2, overhand throw kick. And then you have all your primary and secondary learning focuses. And then you can see that with that, you also have which standard it relates to. The I can statement here is just something our district adopted as an entire district. We're just trying to use kid-friendly language to have a more meaningful learning experience for students when they come in so that they can kind of relate to the language that we're using. So from that block plan, then I kind of break that down into what you guys are probably familiar with, which is the lesson planning. And this is pretty much a lesson plan that I put together from our more vague block plan. So this is a little bit more specific, but it's just for me. You can see here I kind of outlined the 6-day unit here. We do have PE just every 3rd day for 45 minutes. So this 6th day right here will go about 2 months, you know. So and then you can see day 2, and you can see that I put the learning objectives, or the learning focus is what I call it, right on top, and then the lesson. So I got here's my sequence of lesson, which we'll dive into later as well. LA1 is my learning activity 1, learning activity 2, as it supports the learning focus for that day. And then some of the strategies to help enhance student learning is just getting them into small group. The smaller the group, the more repetition. That's kind of what we want. More involvement from kids. They feel a sense of ownership, and they definitely allow them to have choice so that 1, they can feel a level of success, and 2, the kids who really needs it can be challenged as well. Right, Tim?
Thanks, Drew. Some great information there for elementary grades. I'm going to talk briefly about middle school, and I'm going to keep it kind of general. Planning lessons. Being organized, of course, is very important. And as you can see by a little picture there, get your students active now. It's so important that students are always active. And so as you plan your lessons, of course, everybody in this field should be aware of that. But variety is also something that's important. The kids come into my class, they don't always know what the opening activity is going to be, but they know it's going to be something active and fun. And I think that's an important part of keeping middle school students engaged, is variety. Having them come in and do jumping jacks and the same thing day after day, I think doesn't empower students as much, doesn't allow them to enjoy physical activity as much as having choices. The next thing, so choices, as you plan, how can you incorporate choices into your lesson plans? We know that empowers students. We know that is what life is about. So we can bring that into our lessons. I think that really helps. And then peer-led discussions and teaching. There's so many times that instead of me doing all the teaching, I can empower my students to do the teaching. And I think that is really a good way to help students to take a leadership role in the class. So again, as you do your planning, think through, how can I empower my students? And then what could go wrong? True, if you can flip to the next slide. Giving them choices and think about what obstacles could come into play here, what problems safety-wise, and have the students think through those things and know what's expected of them. Helps you to have good lesson planning. So went through that kind of quick, but let's move to Matt. Again, if you guys have questions on anything that we're saying, please type them in. We'd like to go back and talk about things more specifically.
All right, thank you, Tim. I'm going to actually move out of here so that Matt can go ahead and share his screen and go on his section here for everybody.
All right. Everybody can see that okay? All right, so I'm going to talk about health now and just lesson planning for success in health education class. And one of the things that I like to think is teach like a pirate. And if you click on that link, you can learn a little bit more about how to teach like a pirate. But teaching like a pirate was created by Dave Burgess. He's a social studies teacher, I believe, down in like San Diego. And just really keeps class exciting, and he's got all these hooks. So it's basically you come up with these pirate hooks just to get kids interested, engaged in the content. When they're engaged in the content, they really sinks in, and then they really learn it. So Teaching Like a Pirate is a great book that he wrote, Dave Burgess. He did come to our school and give a PD session. It was amazing. So when I look at lesson planning, I look at how can I teach like a pirate? How can I get my students hooked on something in health education class? All right. He talks about making learning an experience. So again, it's not just, me delivering content. It's how do I make this content come to life? And how do I make it, that experience that kids are literally lining up at the door for, waiting, to be a part of your class. So I'm really focused, especially this year, on like just delivering functional information. And in the past, it was a much more content-laden health class for me. But this is like, what is the most specific thing that I want my students to know, that I want them to be able to understand when they're in a situation and they don't have me near, that they can kind of get out of that situation or make a good decision or whatever it is. So that functional information is something I think about, like what is the most important thing? And it's small bits of information. All right. Everything is skill skills-based right now, and I just jumped in kind of head first this year into skills-based health education. So all the functional information that we're learning every day is now going to be practiced within these skills. So on a given day, we might use multiple skills, but again, these are our national health education standards. It's accessing valid information. It's analyzing who influences you and how they influence you in positive and negative ways. It's communicating with yourself. It's communicating with others. It's making decisions. It's goal setting. It's comprehending this knowledge that you need to know to be a healthy individual. It's practicing the health enhancing behaviors and advocating for your health and others' health. So again, every day, that's just what it's focused on. Like those are the skills that we're working on as we're processing through that functional information. And I like to plan in movement breaks, and just important throughout the day to get students up and moving. And I'm not saying that they need to be doing jumping jacks and have a dance party, in middle school health class, but just walking over to someone else and sharing an answer to a question, planning that into your lesson 10 minutes into it, so they are active. Meeting and writing on the wall somewhere, obviously a piece of paper on the wall, or taking a Post-it note and sticking it somewhere. Anything that can get those students up and moving, I'm planning that into it. So I just wanted to hit home on the teaching like a pirate and functional information here. So this was a lesson on addiction. I just had a tug-of-war rope sitting in the room. No one had any idea what it was doing there. At some point in time, after we watched a little video on addiction, I said, all right, give us our 6 strongest kids. They picked them out. It was the 6 strongest against the 20 other students in that class, and they were battling it out. We were out in the hallway, but the whole lesson and the whole bit of functional information that I was trying to get across was the stages of addiction, from experimentation to chemical dependency. So the major lesson happened out in the hallway after we were tugging on the tug-of-war rope, and there was this silentness within those students because they were active, they moved, they're outside of the 4 walls. So anyways, that was just that. We sometimes bring in like villains and superheroes and those types of things, and that's kind of fun as well too. Again, not just write a goal down on a piece of paper for me. This is the Great Wall of China is on my computer as they walk into the room. As they walk into the room, I'm going to start playing the song that's kind of down in the right-hand corner, and then the whole lesson, and they're going to draw what their ultimate goal is, and that's the Great Wall of Health. So I turned the classroom into really just a work of art. And throughout our alcohol and other drug unit, we continued to reflect on the beautiful wall behind us and all the goals that people had, because they were really amazing. Again, one way I wanted to teach, what does stress feel like? All right, that was the functional information. What is the effect of stress, right as you're being stressed? So we had a massive speed stacking tournament. It was amazing. We set up a bracket on the board. I mean, I tried to put them in a pretty stressful situation. That was the goal. Them battling it out one against another right in front of the class so they could feel that stress. We even brought in BAM video delay on iPads, so we would know who won if there was ever any wondering of that. We attempted to crown a champion, and really it was just so they knew what they felt like when they were stressed. And again, the functional information lasted 3 or 4 minutes, but it was something that they're never going to forget because I created an experience. So that was my goal. That was the idea. That's kind of how I teach like a pirate. That's how I like health class to kind of run. And that's how I enjoy lesson planning. So I think I'm going to send it right back over to True. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And True's going to get us going on, he's going to look at classroom routines. So trying to transition on here from lesson planning to some routines, and excited to hear what everybody has to offer.
All right, thanks, Matt. Great stuff there on skill base. Our next topic here for the viewer is classroom routines. So I'm going to lead it off with for the elementary level. Tim will go, and then Matt will do the health portion. So thanks for tuning in again. This is really the structure of my class routine. We have a workout at the beginning called the Daily 5 workout. It's kind of synonymous with our district's use of the Daily 5 ELA curriculum, which is a self-guided time for students to have 5 choices to either read to self, read to others, if you're familiar with that. The next one is also right after the daily workout is our learning board. So we always come and sit in front of the learning board. It's just my whiteboard where I write all of my daily learning focuses that I showed you earlier when I was talking about my lesson planning. And then the learning activities. These are kind of the ones, all the activities that build and supports the learning focus. And then we do some stretching lines and discussion at the end, and then lining up. So I'm just going to show this video really quickly here. This is I'll just kind of talk through it. So I didn't share this video, but this is one video that I kind of made for my PDP to show how I increase physical activity. But this is the ladder. So this is one of the daily 5 workout, and it's really based on the 5 components of fitness, but I only choose 3 of them because I'm in elementary school. So there's the second one. This is the third one here, the agility, which is more like cardio, respiratory. And then the third one, or the fourth one, is my pull-up bar. So that's another muscular strength one. So right away, what I'm doing is I am having kids become self-independent. They come in and they come in to the gym, and I kind of pre-group them right away already, and we're going to talk about grouping later too for the transitioning, or for the grouping section for topic 3, I believe. But I pre-group them, so I pre-assign them to groups, and they start at specific corners of the gym working on their muscular strength and cardio. And I also include different things in there like skill-based type stuff too, so they always have a second choice to do, which then I can incorporate like what we're doing. So if it's something skill-based, then I add that skill-based. So if it's dribbling a basketball, some of their peers may be doing the muscular strength activity while the others are doing the skill base, and then they just switch. So it's a way for them to kind of become self-independent and self-guided right away, and it kind of frees me up to take care of a few things as well. But the last one is strictly focused on cardio. So we've hit muscular strength and cardio right away in the first like 10-15 minutes of the class. And right here, we use just different stuff. So sometimes we'll just jog to music. Sometimes we'll use tag games as our choice for cardio. Sometimes we'll do relays. But for my 4th and 5th graders, especially since we're keeping a digital fit log, our goal is always to hit that our zone, which is 130, 170 beats per minute. So we always check our heart rate after, and then we put it into our iPad. So my kids come with iPad every day. So that's kind of how I use the cardio portion, and their tech is just really invisible now because it's just a tool that they know that they go in to put in their heart rate as a way to track their intensity. All right. So that's the daily 5 workout. Next one is classroom routine continued, which is the review board. So after they're done, I know it kind of stinks to have them be so physically active and then to sit down, but I try to really not talk a lot and try to get them moving again. You can kind of see the kids sit way over here by the first very corner. So the door is kind of over here on the left-hand side, and they come in and they start doing their daily workout. And then after, they sit here and we talk about their grade band and what the learning objectives are and what the learning activities that we're going to use to support. So if kids are like, what are we doing in FIED today, and what are we going to play today, is generally what their statement is. And I say, look, where can you find that information, you know? So it's kind of like self-guided for them. We used to sit over here on the right-hand picture here. We used to sit in this blue circle, but it was just too far away from all of my learning focuses. I wanted kids to see it. So I wanted them to see it. And you can't see it right here, but right above here in the blue are the shape standards. So once again, we're always connecting what we're doing back to the standard. So that's the second thing. The learning activity. So this, I put not games here because I'm a big stickler on like kids asking like, what game are we playing today? Well, we're really not teaching kids to play games. We're teaching them about making good decisions, making good health choices, those sort of things. So social emotional learning, that all that good stuff. So this is one of the culminating activities that we did during our net wall games unit. Once again, we're just going one-on-one, and you can see right there that's one of my learning focus, hitting the ball to an open space. So. And then the very last thing that we do is what I call like our stretching line. So once again, I pre-assign the kids in the class into small groups where they rotate through their daily workout. At the end of the day, we also use these lines on the gym floor here, and I pre-assign them to different spots. So right after we're done with the main activity for the day, I would just tell them to get to their stretching spot, and they go right away, and they know where it is. And then this is where we hit that third component of fitness, which is the flexibility. And I always like doing my flexibility, my stretching at the end, because research says that stretching actually relaxes the muscle. So unless if you're going to do some dynamic stretching before you do a physical activity, I would recommend just doing the static stretching at the very, very end. Not only does that help to transition them back into school, into the hallway in their classroom, but it's just a nice way for them to just kind of calm down from what they're doing. So let me see.
Hey,
and
True,
Tim?
True, quick question
Yes.
from Darcy.
Sure.
She's wondering, do you do the daily workout with all K5? And is it the same workout? Do you break it up just a little bit?
Yeah, I actually have a picture that I'll show. So right next to each of the corner, I have like this big poster board where I color code like the gray band. So 4 or 5's like blue, 2, 3's a different color, K1's a different color. And I actually have like removable pictures that I will change like every month, you know, just so that they get used to working on that skill. But I used to do it K through 5, and now what I'm doing is I'm trying to empower students more. So my 5th graders now, their expectation is that after learning about sets and reps and creating your own fitness routine, we use tech, and they kind of come up with their own, and they come into the gym and they kind of do their own fitness routine. So as if they were going into like a fitness club or something. And then after they're done with that, then we do a cardio, and then we get on for learning lessons. So far 2 of 3 classes working very well, and it's just a pilot year for this year, but I really like it. And once again, it's just going back to what Tim and you talk about empowering students to kind of control their own learning in my environment. So
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think we'll send it right over to Tim, just talking more about some middle school class routines.
Matt,
All right, Tim, it's all over.
can I let you go first and come back to me? I have a little computer issue that I have to solve.
Yep, so what I'll do is I'll just...
That would be great.
I could go back out here, Matt, and then you can go back in.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
All right, sounds good. Not a problem. It happens.
All right. Loading up. I'm going to go just a little bit different. They're talking about routines. I'm going to jump in and talk about the rules first, just because my routines are so different every day in health education class. So just want to talk about how we can set up the classroom for success. And I think once we set it up for success right at the beginning of the school year, I really feel like, you know, things go smooth and the routines aren't quite as important. It's you know, what they know about the rules and things like that. So I want to just talk a little bit about how I set the classroom up for success. And honestly, on the first day, it starts with a Google form. And again, I'm just looking for some information from them. So it's like, what are some of the rules that you feel like are important? What can I do to make you successful? What's happening in class when you struggle? What are some of the things you love about your favorite teachers, and what are some of your least favorite aspects about teachers? So I'm just trying to get some information from them. And then it kind of progresses on to something I picked up from Andy Horn and Andy Milne, and it's called ropes, and definitely want to talk you through that. And it's definitely something that could work for physical education as well. But then I have the students start looking at the ropes acronym and, you know, give me a word that the letter R should stand for in ropes, and give me why. And again, give me a word for the letter O in ropes, and give me a reason why. So I just want to go over this. So they all turn this in on day one. It's 220 of them. It's a lot of information to go through, but then I pull out some of the most important words that they said. And day 2 in class, like boom, right away, I start to talk about ropes. All right. So respect. And these are the things that my students actually said towards each other. So it's like, we need to respect each other in the classroom and the teacher. It's important for everyone in a classroom to show respect to everyone. So these are all like exactly what the students typed in. And there were some other R words as well, which I thought were really interesting. And we have a quick discussion about that as well. And then again, gets into open-minded. So this is exactly what I showed my students. So it's giving them that power. It's empowering them to give their rules and to talk about how they really want to be treated in the classroom. And I feel like, I know I want to talk about routines, and I will, but I feel like setting up these rules are so important. So perseverance was what they talked about. Excellence is what people should expect from themselves and others. Like, I just love some of the things that they come up with here. Shoot for the stars, you know? And then again, just the other words with the E and success. it's just really amazing when you give them that option to have that input. You empower them. So again, that's ropes. I come up, I print a poster out. This was first year's poster. This one was the second year poster, and they loved that it was color coded, and they loved that they got to see some more words and things like that as well. But the coolest part about this is any point in time we're struggling, we need a reminder. It's like I just walk over to the poster because it's up in the room, and it's, and we'll look at some specific words, and or if the next activity is coming up and I just know that, students might need encouragement and or might need to be open-minded or be respectful to someone, it's just so easy to point that out and remind them that this is what, your classmates were looking for. So that's how I set up the rules. And once it's set up on day one, like it's pretty amazing, and things go pretty easy after that.
Roy, Carolyn.
And again, looking at class routines, I don't necessarily have seating charts to start. I encourage students to find like a common seat, and we talk about what a good common seat would be for them. Some groups need to go into seating charts and things like that, but computers and phones, really, we're a one-to-one school. A lot of kids carry their phones around. Some teachers have them put it in a basket. I have them off, and I have them put face down on their table. And then again, a normal routine is I'm introducing the functional information, and it's just a little bit of information. But really in health class, anything can happen from there. All right, we're just going to begin to work on embedding the functional information into the skills. I'm just going to show you Google Classroom real quick. Google Classroom is the biggest routine that we have. It's our mode of transportation for everything with assignments. So there's no audio with this video, but you can just kind of see my Google Classrooms just set up here. It's got all my different hours. Every student is within that hour. I can click on that hour, and you can see one of the assignments there. Just Stress Busters feedback. In that, there's a link to a Google Drive folder. So these are just some of the things that you can share there. Within the Google Drive folder had all of their projects. So this was a video project on Stress Busters. And again, all the videos are there. And then I had the students watch on their own Chromebooks. And I also had them give feedback. So there was a Google form feedback. And that's just all posted on Google Classroom. Some of these things, like the Stress Busters planning sheet, it says each student will get a copy. So it's like I'm handing them a worksheet with their name already on it, and it's just so easy to turn it in. Some things like this examples of stress reducers, it's just a document that I'm sharing with them that they can view. And then there's an assignment, something that's already made for them. And again, there's quizzes. If you hit the little plus button, which I think is what's going to happen next, you can create an announcement, you can post an assignment, and there's even some like little quizzes, or you could just ask a question as a, maybe a bell ringer activity or whatever else. But that's how I use Google Classroom. It is definitely our biggest routine and procedure. It happens a lot, and it's a really, really good tool. And I strongly suggest, if you're not using it for health or PE, really think about it. All right. We'll see if Tim is ready to go.
Yep.
Yep, you're all good?
Yep.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Back to my slide.
So, going back over to True. So
yep.
Tim's going to jump in on classroom routines with his middle school students. I know I talked about rules and routines.
Okay, so here we go.
I think Matt is talking about, right? I think you were talking about rules are a big part of routines. I think back to, hopefully we have some first-year teachers out there as well, but I think back to my first few years, I remember sitting and reading rules and telling the kids, this is what you have to do in my class. And that didn't seem to work as well as what I'm going to explain next. So again, empowering kids is what we want to do. So the beginning of the school year, getting kids to set their own norms. Okay, what do we expect? Now, granted, you guide them and you have your basic rules that you need, but to get them to understand why we have them in our class. And I think that's important. But then after you have that, to role play those behaviors, and then have the kids practice those behaviors. And then after they get it, then to provide feedback, often throughout the year. So example of that is at the beginning of the school year, I would have my students go and get equipment, and we would do a variety of different things. But each time we're using equipment, each time we're doing something different, we're talking about how the rules of the class would apply and having them understand and kind of encourage each other to be following those rules. And I think that's so much different than just reading about it. But I really believe that going and practicing it and having them be part of the rule process helps them to understand and be empowered then. And to emphasize again, this is their class. When kids have that understanding that it's their class, they're more likely to come in excited about being there. They're more likely to excited about having it go smoothly. And then discipline kind of disappears because they discipline themselves. So when it comes to class routines, again, I like variety in class, but the norms don't change. They understand what's expected of them. That really seems to help. So that's my emphasis on middle school class routines.
All right, thank you, Tim. Yep, we're going to skip through Matt's presentation, and we're going to go to our third topic. So our third topic is going to be about, I believe, grouping. And as soon as we get there, why don't I do this and see if I can get there quicker? So right, here we go. Okay, so we're on a third out of the fourth topic. Third topic is grouping strategy. You can see this is myself and one of my students, and we're doing kind of a back-to-back. So it's kind of a different shape that you can group kids. But let's get started. I just did a little research, and it looks like they kind of categorize it into kind of these three: the teacher assigned, which I know we do a lot of; student-led, which depending on your situation, and then the randomized. So we'll talk about all three briefly here. So teacher assigned, we do this all the time. We know our student best. We assign them by skill level. Sometimes if we want to kind of trick them, we might pick a lower skill level to go up a higher skill level. Just kind of mix it up so people don't always think like you're favoring all the athletes on, and they're always playing together when some of their buddies who aren't as athletic also want to be in that group. But it's okay. Sometimes that's the only way that you can challenge them and differentiate instructions for different kids and different students in your class. The other one is the pre-assigned. I talked about it during my daily 5 workout. I pre-assign that at the very beginning of the school year, and it just becomes a part of their routine that they come in and that's their group and that's kind of their team. And I can use it very quickly, and I can say for grouping purposes, you know, I can say, all right, well, we're going to do this invasion game, stretch or daily group number 4. You're going to split your group into 2, and then you got this field. So it's very quick, and I don't have to do the whole sit everybody down, then number off. So it just depends on what you want out of your class for transition. I value my time because I don't see my kids every day. I only see them every third day for 45 minutes. And then lastly, you may want to assign strategically for managing behavior. So maybe if you mess up at the beginning of the school year and you realize that 2 kids together, they're just gonna feel each other's behavior, you may want to pre-assign them to different or rearrange them into different groups to just kind of shape that behavior a little bit. So that's the teacher assigned. Student-led is really the empowerment piece that Tim and Matt talks about a lot, where they pick their own, but with some level of trust, you know. And then they also pick some with exceptions. So you might say, all right, let's get into groups of 3, no more than 3. You can have 2, and that's okay, but no more than 3. Or you can say something like, okay, we need groups of 4, but you got to have 2 girls, 2 guys, you know, just whatever the exception is. But however you allow the students to have choice to pick their own group, it has to come with some level of responsibility. And this certainly is not one. So you can all probably remember this. I believe in the PE Central, this falls under like the PE Hall of Shame, where you let two athletic kids pick their, you know, the groups, and then the least athletic kids pick last. So certainly don't do that. But in certain situations, it does work well and does really empower kids to kind of have that choice. Last one is randomization. You know, different things like numbering off. I always like doing like, and I know this is like terrible, but I got this from our Parks and Rec guy, and he's like, you know, let's get with a partner, and they pick their favorite partner right away, and then you go, all right, one of you is gonna be pizza, pepperoni, and the other one's gonna be cheese, and then they don't know, but they just pick, and then you just say, all right, cheese over here, pepperoni over there, so you're like splitting them up right away. So that's just This is another fun one. Grouping app, there's a bunch of them. I think Matt's going to talk about a little bit. Sometimes I also use cards. I don't use stick. I know that's popular in the classroom, but I do use cards. And so that you can see my my aces there. So that's what do I like best? Like it just really depends. I really like giving choices over to kids, but a lot of the time if they haven't learned how to be responsible for that choice, then it could come back to be a negative for you as the teacher. So you'll automatically see kids being isolated. You know, the kids who are always misbehaving because they don't get that love and belonging at home. And then as soon as you get into like this pick your own group deal, those kids then they kind of don't, they're not even involved. So you want to kind of be careful of that. It just really depends. The daily workout I pick, sometimes I'll just let kids go into different groups just to mix it up a little bit, but it just really depends on the scenario. And that is it for me. And Tim, you're up next.
All right, thanks, Drew. So I'm going to probably hit on some of the same things that Drew talked about, but I look at it as finding partners as basically a team building skill. It has to be done through training. And just like I talked about at the beginning of setting the norms and practicing and role modeling, that's something I do at the beginning of the year in my class. Now I had the opportunity, I had 8th graders available for about 2 minutes, and I said, okay, we're going to shoot a short video just showing how we pick partners. But again, when we did this, they were also working on learning and reviewing the muscles together. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, but Drew, if you could play that.
Sure.
See if we can hear it.
Let's see if I can get that going. Here we go.
Can't hear anything on it. But again, if you can train your students to be able to go and find partners quickly, and it doesn't matter who they're with. Again, Drew talked about having the different pizza choices. I have different choices every time, whether it's Packers and Brewers, whether it's biceps and triceps, or in groups of 3, I think this one here, I had deltoids, gastrocnemius, and latissimus dorsi. So getting kids to learn things and discuss things, teaching each other as they're finding partners, I think then you're not wasting time and they're learning to work together. Drew, if you want to go on to the next slide.
Sure.
The video is available. You can see it possibly easier if you just go to YouTube. But when finding partners here, I don't know, Drew, if you're getting there, you go. Okay. Points to emphasize. Whenever I say find a partner, I wait till I say go, but they always have to have their hand raised first. And there's a reason for that. I can tell right away who doesn't have a partner then because their hands go down once they find one. I emphasize they can't say no. And that's something, again, they have to be trained on. Kids naturally are going to try to go with their best friends. And this is something that I think is really good for teaching classroom atmosphere. Facial reaction. It's just as bad as words. So sometimes you have to role model that. You have to play it out so kids can see what it looks like when somebody gives a facial reaction when they're not going with their best friend. And it's amazing how you can change the atmosphere of the class when that's been role modeled and taught and understood by the students. I also say is to help or be helped. So they all have a job. And when they understand that, it doesn't really matter who they're with. I always talk about respect, and we, our family, are not just songs. That's kind of our theme in our classroom. We show respect, and we're like a family. Last one is self-respect, on how you are self-reflect on how you get a partner. So that means a lot of times I'll ask them, how did you do as a partner? How did your partner do? And whether it's fist to 5 that they paid themselves, or have a discussion, tell your partner what you did well, what they did well. And then rotating partners often. So again, in finding partners, it's important that it's taught like a team building skill because then it develops an atmosphere within your class. So I found that to be really effective, especially with the middle school. And hopefully that works in ways for you guys out there too. So thanks, we'll pass it up to Matt.
All right, thank you, Tim. And Matt, I'm going to go ahead and just exit out of this presentation here so that you can
Sounds good. Yeah,
get
I'm
back
starting
in.
to screen share as of right now. So jumping on in. So again, I'm going to talk about it on a health education standpoint, and definitely some of these things could be used for physical education as well. But just looking at some grouping strategies here, I'm going to go over quite a few of them. And again, what Tim and True said were already great ideas. For me and for health education class, sometimes it just completely depends with what we're working on that day, that time of the year, the unit, everything. Sometimes based on the content or type of assessment that I'm offering, I just kind of realize that, they need to be able to pick their own partners. Like everyone else has said, there's got to be some sort of responsibility with that. There's got to be some sort of trust, and there's got to be, kind of a deal made that everyone's going to do their jobs as well. So, but like we say, and a lot of people are kind of mentioning it too, when you set those firm expectations and you hold kids accountable, like it's going to work. It's going to work. But sometimes just based upon the content, some lighter content types of things, again, I will choose the groups, and they definitely need to be pushed outside of their boundaries. Some kids only like to share some health things with some closer friends, and sometimes I'll allow them to do that again. But yep, sometimes I pick, sometimes they pick. I'll give you a few ideas as to how I pick and how some groups are divided up. But it's good to be open-minded and teach and talk about that. It's good to be able to communicate with a lot of different people. Definitely one that can work for health class, and definitely one that can work for physical education class is Team Shake. Quite a few teachers out there probably know about Team Shake, but I just want to take you through a short tutorial on it, and just so you can kind of see what's happening and how I set it up. And again, you can kind of choose a person's strengths, whether they're male or female, their gender. And I'll kind of click through. You can see some of our board of directors are on here. Sorry, I know I left some people out, but going through these couple, again, I'm just setting them up for maybe whatever type of unit it is, maybe how strong they are academically and things like that. Students never need to and get to see that, but there's also some configuration settings, and you can kind of look at balancing the team strengths, or if you want them balanced male and female, if you want to keep only male groups, only female groups, if you want to have equal ability teams, things like that. Those are some things you can choose from. And then simply put, you can choose by shaking it for 2 people teams, and you can see it didn't work out so well for Keith right here. You can also see you can pick, again, 4 people on a team, and it'll tell you how many teams you have. So there's lots of easy settings, and I just hit the shake button, or you can shake your phone, and it shakes it, and you get your groups. Quick, it's fast, it's easy. Again, so you're breaking it either down by teams or down by how many people do you want. So kind of a cool way to make things happen, and it's real quick. It's just real fast. So you could definitely do it quickly. All right. Again, for health, I don't hand a ton of stuff out on paper, but again, you've got a lot of different options when you're handing out paper. You've got your different colors that are on your papers. You can kind of see up here in the upper left-hand side. You could label it by numbers. So again, going up, you want 10 different groups. You write numbers 1 through 10 on different papers. And then again, you've got maybe just different letters. They can even be color-coded and or different symbols. So again, that's nice for those random groups that True was talking about as well. And it just happens randomly, and it's not always the Team Shake app and things like that. So just some other grouping strategies. This is just a Google Drive folder that I took a picture of, and it's got 5 different articles in it. And sometimes when they're in their seats, when they're at their tables, this works out really well. And I can link them up by tables. One person reads this article, one person reads this one, so on and so forth. And it's also been done to where we have had videos. And again, each person sitting at the tables will watch a video, and then they'll break down and they'll kind of go share with other people in the class. So my classroom setup, As of right now, I've got tables where 2 or 3 people are seated at. You could have some hexagon tables, 6 people seated here. But again, each different person could watch a different video, watch a different article, and then they could switch then the different groups and the different tables where they sit at. So those are just some of my ideas for grouping strategies and that kind of stuff. So without further ado, we're going to look next.
Sorry guys, I'm going to do a quick refresh here. Looks like I'm losing a lot of the audio.
Sounds good. So we'll have True coming back in again. He's going to be looking at one of our last topics here, or our last topic, and that's making successful transitions. Transitions we know are really important. Most people plan and plan and plan for those transitions, and it's really just a good thing to do. So let's think about what else we can do.
All right, thanks, Matt. It looks like we're ready to go. My audio is getting kind of staticky on this side. Hopefully you guys can all hear me okay. I guess that's what matters. But hopefully everybody can still hear me.
Now we got you.
Let me see. Okay, so basically, transition is kind of like what this image right here is showing, going from kids being super active into kind of that sit and get type of mode, and to kind of go from one to the other. So the first strategy I like using is just call and response, and I know we do a lot with this as well. Wondering if let me see. Wondering if everybody's hearing me here. A lot of static in this. I'll just keep going here, and okay, yeah, the audio is getting kind of bad here. So, okay, all right, sounds good. I'll just keep going. Thanks, Tim. So, call and response is basically a teacher says a word or a phrase, and the students respond, and then after the response is sort of the be ready type of mode. So, on the left-hand side is what I use. On the right-hand side is what there are some resources here that you can actually just click on the link and go from there. So a lot of teachers like using the word freeze, but I like kids to respond back with frozen, and then I like using words like show me, show me frozen, because kids will still be moving. What time is it? Adventure time, SpongeBob SquarePants, and the countdown here is actually related back to our voice scale. So a 0 voice is no voice at all. So it's kind of nice. I'll say 5, and then they say 4, 3, and then I'll say 1, they say 0, and then I said, all right, we're at 0 voice. You should be, you should sound like a 0 voice now. So that's kind of what that is. Universal practices, here's our voice scale, and then here's our show 5. And your school may or may not use this, but it's just an attention getter. It's just a be ready type of attention getter. And once again, there's that 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 voice and show 5. So the last successful transition is just having kids be familiar with different locations in your gym setting. So the gymnasium is a large place, and especially for new kindergartners, they really have a tough time just kind of sitting together with the group. So I actually use some tape, and I tape a little green square here, and you can kind of see that that's strategically placed right in front of my whiteboard so that the kids can come in and they can sit inside the green square. I used to have kids sit here in the blue circle like I talked about earlier when I did the lesson plan, the successful lesson planning part, but it was just too far away from the instructional board, and I really wanted kids to see what our learning objectives were going to be for the day. The blue circle right in the center of my gym, I really use it for just a quick discussion review, and it's really the easiest place to get to. I talked about this during what topic was that, about like the sequence of lesson, I think that was. And at the end of my lesson, you can kind of see these are my stretch line spots. So like here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kids kind of know which one they sit at and where they sit at. And then like everybody else has, right here in the middle, they kind of know that that's where they line up when it's time to be excused. And sometimes I empower students by picking kids who did well in the class to kind of dismiss each of these lines to go and line up. So that's pretty much a familiar location and how I make transitions. So Tim, handing it over to you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Headphones were not working for me. As True said, some great ideas there that he shared as far as how to get kids' attention and recalling back and forth. Great way to do it. Clap routines are something that's typically used. As long as you have something that works where they're used to hearing your voice say that word, I think that's really beneficial. I'm talking middle school here. Expectations is so important. What do you expect when you say that word? What do you expect when you call them out? Directions should always be short then. So if you're going to give directions on what to do, keep them short and always say go. So many times if I'm going to student teacher in, they'll start giving directions and the kids will be taking got close to finishing directions. So always have that established to say go before you get them, into the next activity. Have the students take ownership. I had a teacher in college that emphasized always have a carrot out in front of the students. And I think that's really important. When I do a transition, the kids know that we're going to transition probably 99% of the time to something else that's fun. So that makes them want to hustle. And even if whatever I'm doing isn't the most exciting thing, I make it seem like it is. And I think that helps to always be excited to move on and to quickly get there so that they're not wasting last time. So establishing that, and kids' peer pressure can be really a good motivator. The kids who want to get to the small-sided games at the end of class, they really help their classmates to transition quickly. So should that carrot out in front of the students and try to keep it there. So hopefully you can hear me this time.
All right. So I'm going to transition over to that making successful transitions. Clicking over to me here. We're going to go into present. Good points brought up so far, and they are so key. And just want to mention something that Jackie said just in the TOZL, and I'll just read it word for word, but at the elementary level, good transitions.
All right, we're going to send it back to Matt. And
I think I got it, man. We're good. So at the elementary level, good transitions are essential to maximize student learning. With back-to-back classes and usually 30 to 40-minute classes for elementary, you need to maximize every second. And again, I plan all my transitions, and my lesson planning has made me a better teacher. So just a good thought process. And again, I like the call and recall. I honestly have never done it until this year, but I just started using it in health education as well. We're the Merton Mustangs. I say Merton. They say Mustangs. A couple of claps. And again, as Tim has mentioned a few times, this stuff needs to be practiced. You cannot expect your students to know how to find good partners, to know how to make appropriate facial, gestures, as you're grouping them. You need to practice these things, and you might need to practice it multiple times during the year. But doesn't necessarily work in the gym, but in the health classroom, again, you're involved in an activity. Lots of kids are talking. And just being involved in that, just a quick flash of the lights will get their attention. And I do like to use that at times. As they are making their transition, I love to give those positive reminders as well. Thank you for doing this. Great job getting this out so quickly. Look at how fast they made it to their seat. Like just those positive reminders, even at that middle school level, can be so important. And again, explicit directions. Again, as Tim has kind of said as well, it's they've got to stay short, but before you begin, and make sure that your directions are clear so people know and understand exactly what they're supposed to do. I use a timer. It's called Timer Plus, and I just want to show a quick tutorial about this. This could definitely be used in the physical education classroom. But I use it in health. You can see I've got like 4 different timers set up. And the cool thing I like about this Timer Plus is the fact that it goes down to the seconds. And I like doing things quick. So I'll set a timer for 10 seconds. You know, sometimes we've got things that we're doing for 20 seconds. So you can set it up. And this is one of the only ones that I know that you can set up for seconds, which is pretty cool. Now this one you can see on the screen right now is 40 seconds, but it repeats 8 different times, which is kind of cool. So, and then again, I've got a longer timer kind of on there as well. And that was like a 5-minute, but you could set up your own, you can choose the sounds, and I'll just carry my phone around and people can hear it in the health classroom and that kind of stuff. So that's Timer Plus. There should be a link that pops up there at some point in time. There it is. Had the transition set up wrong, but if you're interested in checking out Timer Plus, it's definitely beneficial to keeping you on task and keeping your students on task. Second thing I use, and again, this is a little bit more for the health education classroom, but this one's called the one-click timer. It is something is pulled up on the smart board. It just adds an extension. So the one-click timer is an extension. Again, there should be a link on there. You can see that the link will take you to the Chrome web store. And again, it's a free extension. You can just add it to your Chrome. You can share it to your other, your other educators at your school. So you can kind of hit that share button. But it's such a simple tool. So you'll see I kind of go click. It's right next to the web address there. You click on it and you could choose a specific amount of minutes. So you automatically have a visual for your students as they're sitting in your classroom. They can glance up at the smart board. I would have directions down below the screen, down below here. So again, people can see visually what they need to do within those 10 minutes, and they can see those 10 minutes kind of ticking away. And again, if you feel like this screen is too small, you can hit the crossed arrows there, and that will actually go to a full screen. It actually pins the tab. So if you're only focused on the time, that's great. But again, if you need to have some directions up there, you can have some directions, and you can see there's some other cool features there as well. So again, that's one-click timer. Now that that's done, my transition should come in, and therefore you can click on that and you can download that extension and you can put it on your computer and check it out. It's definitely a really cool resource to keep everyone on time, and mainly it's me, but it's keeping those students focused as well. So relationships, who wants to add in something about relationships?
As we talk, the most important thing in classroom management, experienced teachers probably don't have as many issues with it. Beginning teachers, we all know, we all been through it. What is the biggest problem? Well, classroom management is motivation and student behavior. So the biggest thing in classroom management would be relationships. Having that relationship with each and every student. And that comes from greeting them at the door, getting to know them, what motivates them. And as you have more experience teaching, and as you, even as a first-year teacher, it's so important to just develop those relationships with the students. So that's a point we didn't talk about a lot, on how to deal with motivated students, how to deal with classroom management with behavior issues. But I think that has to be said, that relationships is the key.
Yep. It's got to be from day one until the day you leave. And you've got to start to notice when those relationships start to break apart, and how quickly a short conversation and how the basketball game go, or what you got going on for baseball now, or I saw you at that choir concert, like that was really cool. Just those little things can definitely go a long way with relationships.
The shade that's up there that says students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That is just so true, though. You think about the teachers that you respected most in your life, and they were the ones who cared. And so I think of all the advice we've given, I think that's so important, is to go back excited about your students and how you make a difference in their lives is by getting to know them.
Right. So that's pretty much a wrap. We've gone a couple minutes over our hour time limit. Again, this is just our contact information here. So if you want to shoot us an email, I put on a Twitter username on there, and I know Tim and True are on there. Look us up on Facebook or Voxer. Love to stay connected, and just appreciate you all being here with us. And just a big thank you to everyone. For joining us, for being a part of it, for, again, the first WHPE webinar, a little roundtable type feel. We are looking to do these about 4 times a year. If anyone specifically has something they'd like to present on, whether it's within a group like True, Tim, and I did today, or whether it's alone, we would be interested in hearing from you, and we'd love to get another thing set up. We just want to keep bringing high quality professional development to our members. So True, Tim, just want to throw out a little final thoughts here.
No, thanks, Matt. Appreciate everybody tuning in for tonight. And we, like Matt said, we hope to do this more often. We love to just have people, because I know we got great teachers out there, and it'd be nice to just have other people's insight on it from different areas of the state. So again, just thanks for tuning in and listening to us blabber on for about an hour here now. So thanks again.
I'd like to reiterate that. Thank you so much for allowing us to share. And I know I learned a lot from Matt and True, and excited to hopefully hear from other people and continue to learn. Twitter is a great place to do that, but it's so awesome to have Matt setting all this up and True using their expertise to help us learn. Yeah.
And just thank you everyone for tuning in through the Tazzle. If you didn't watch live, you can always watch afterwards, which is really cool. So just really appreciate everyone being here over vacation. And just remember, classroom management, it doesn't just happen on August 31st or September 1st. You're going to need to review. We chose this time of the year so you can think about it. You can bring some things back into your classroom starting in January and refresh, remind, reinvigorate, whatever it is that you need to. And hopefully you can take some stuff home. So thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys all take care, and we'll be seeing you shortly.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tim.
Happy New Year.
Yep. Happy holidays, everybody.